And we're live. Bienvenidos a todos. Hey, Danny.
Hi, Ruby. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. If you're listening in, let us know where you're listening in from. Welcome to the human side of AI leadership and innovation. This is the new weekly live stream that is hosted by the Latino AI Summit, where we are bringing in community members. Um, And each week we're spotlighting leaders, builders, researchers, entrepreneurs, educators, and change makers that are helping shape what's next. And we really believe that the future shouldn't be built for communities, but that it should be built with communities. So whether you're joining us live or watching the replay, we're so glad that you're joining us today and listening. So again, just drop in the chat. Let us know where you're listening in from. We would love to know. While you're doing that, I want to just let everyone know that we officially launched our Latino AI Summer Summit, and that 2 day event is coming up July 22nd and 23rd. We have 2 full days of workshops. We have some fantastic speakers, including Danny. We have some amazing keynotes. Uh, Yesterday, we announced that Marcelo de Santis is going to be our opening keynote, and we'll soon release who is our Day 2 keynote. But we really took all the feedback that we got from the last summit and are implementing it into this summer summit. So some of the things that we heard was, we wanted more hands-on workshops. We want to like more outcomes-based focus. We wanted longer workshops. Everything last time was 45 minutes, which is great for some presentations, but for some of the hands-on builder workshops, it's not enough time. So we've created, lengthier sessions for those practical skills, applying what you're learning, building as you go. So we've made adjustments to those sessions. We've built in breaks and a lunch hour, so that way you're not overwhelmed but have some time to decompress. And this is all about building community, making sure that our community is not just participating or just not consuming AI, but really leading in this space. And we know that there's not enough on ramps, there's not enough psychological safety, there's not, a lot of times we're the only ones in our work areas, in our departments, in our teams that are Latinos, and this is a place where you get to come as you are, bring all of you. You don't have to mask, you don't have to shrink. We're not asking you to, code switch. Just come and learn. And you don't have to be a technologist. You can just be someone that's curious. And that's really the theme of this summer summit is curious, from curious to confident. So without further ado, again, if you're listening, feel free to drop where you're listening in on the chat. And I want to introduce our guest today. I'm really excited about our guest because Danny Castro is someone who I met a couple years ago, maybe about 3 or 4 years ago. I actually met
Four
him
years ago at this
four.
point, yeah.
Is it 4 years ago? Okay,
Yeah.
4 years ago, we met through Latinas in Tech, and we've become really good friends. So I can consider Danny a personal friend of mine. And I always tease him. I can't think of a better person to bring in to talk about community, because I always say I call Danny the mayor, the mayor of the Raleigh-Durham area, because Danny knows everyone. And I feel like he is just a natural community builder and always um, connecting people with other people. And I think that it's not just being a community builder, but he's a real champion. And I would even say a sponsor. And he's been someone that has been making a lot of connections for McCall and I with the Latino AI Summit. And that's why you might start hearing about in-person events. A lot of that has to do with Danny. So I really, Danny, just want to acknowledge you in public and thank you for all of your work. We never had to like he just went out and did this on his own because he believed in the mission. And we're so grateful to have you as part of our, as part of our community and building with us. So, one, just want to acknowledge you for that.
Thank you, Ruby. Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to tell you a little about who Danny is. So Danny is an AI program manager, developer, and community leader here in the Triangle in the Raleigh-Durham area. He has over 25 years of technology experience, being in customer success, program delivery, enterprise technology, and he's also the co-lead of the AI Tinkerers, which is a global program, but he leads the Raleigh chapter and is really contributing to the local AI ecosystem here through AI Tinkers and also through all things AI. And if if you're not in this area, you might not know this is a really big tech and innovation hub. We have IBM here, Lenovo, Pendo, Cisco,
Red Hat,
Red
SAS.
Hat. Yeah. There's so many organizations out here and people don't realize, what a tech hub this really is. I think if you're not living here. And so Danny's been really involved in this area. He's worked for organizations like IBM, like Cisco, like ServiceNow, and really implementing some of these AI solutions. And he's really about building AI community here in the Triangle. And then also, like I said, he's been doing a ton for, building community within the Latino AI Summit. So, Danny, thank you for being here. You have spent, last 20 years in technology. What really, tell us a little about your journey and how did you get to where you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I started off, and I'm going to sound old for saying this, at a help desk, at an internet help desk, helping people with their dial-up internets back in the day, in the early 2000s, out in
For
Grand
some of
Rapids,
you
Michigan.
younger folks, this was like when people use real phones and we had to wait and things weren't immediate.
Yes, yes. So I broke my teeth helping people set up their internet connections on their on their machines to dial in, and it was an interesting experience because I always tell people learning at a help desk, you see a bit of everything, good, bad, and ugly. And so you'd never know what's going to happen the moment that phone rings. But you have to be prepared. You have to be prepared for whatever comes your way. It could be maybe just a 10-second call. Hey, what's your DNS server? Which I can still repeat off the top of my head: 204.177.184.10 and 204.177.184.15. You can wake me up cold in the middle of the night and ask me what is the iServe DNS servers, and I will tell you that's the primary and secondary DNS server without blinking, because of so many times I've had to say that over the phone throughout the years I was breaking in. But that's how I got my intro to technology, working at that help desk in Grand Rapids. And it's an interesting situation because in Grand Rapids at the time, and even Michigan in general, there were a lot of areas that didn't even have access to broadband. It's because
Wow.
there weren't companies that had infrastructure. And once again, I'm going to throw out another old name for folks here: MCI, Verizon, back in parts of Michigan, did not want to spend money to update and get in broadband and cable or DSL in those areas. So I really saw the need for having infrastructure and having people be served by the technology, because you saw the gap between the people who had dial-up and the people who had that at the time a fancy 1.5 meg T1, right? Which now you can't even download a picture for 1.5 meg. You'd be like, oh, this is taking forever. But people used to pay $750 a month for that 1.5 meg, and we're very happy paying $750 a month for that 1.5 meg back in the day. So I really got to see firsthand what it's like when you have people who have access to technology and those who don't, through
Mm.
no fault of their own, and what that digital divide is. I was living in that digital divide 20 years ago and seeing that. So even when we talk about what's going on now with AI and access, like I remember that from dial-up days, because it's just now a different beast, but it's still the same access versus non-access, and
Yeah.
those those barriers in technology.
Yeah, and we still have broadband issues. I was looking at my phone because I was trying to find the statistic. But like I think about North Carolina, which is where we are at, right? And people think I hear this conversation that AI is going to level the playing field, right? And everybody has access to it. But you're bringing up a really important point, because I know here in North Carolina, you go an hour away. I'm thinking of a little town called Selma. I had a friend that ran an after school program in Selma. When COVID hit, and I live in Chapel Hill, and I'm saying all this to give some context to it. In Chapel Hill, when COVID hit, my kids had their Chromebooks, and everyone just plugged in remotely, and they just did remote learning. In Selma, not even everyone had internet, and so there wasn't learning. So the gap of those 2 years when it comes to education was so far behind, and the big issue was there wasn't enough broadband. Not everyone had access to broadband, not even from mobile. Okay, so there was a gap in the learning. So when we think about digital access, that argument that, hey, everyone is going to have accessibility, and now it levels the playing field. The question is, does it really?
And it's amazing you bring that up. I was at a digital Durham event because, like Ruby says, I'm the mayor, so I'm everywhere. You find there's an AI event, chances are
You
you're gonna see my
definitely know
face.
about it, yes.
And I was there at Digital Durham, and there were some people from North Carolina State, the actual state government itself, and they showed us a map of the broadband across the state. And one of the shocking things was the gaps you had of the areas that did not have proper digital broadband and the ones that had very weak coverage. And so we are still seeing that. And some of it, amazingly enough, isn't always because of the problem we think of, like putting money, but like we saw areas in the Asheville area after a hurricane wiped through. We know, the hurricane did a lot of damage to Asheville a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And that affected their infrastructure. So there are parts of the Asheville area which got hit, which are still trying to get back to the infrastructure. Because when we talk about infrastructure, and I could speak on this all day because I have a telco background, but when you look at what it costs to put in fiber and digging everything out and setting up this infrastructure, it takes a lot of time and money. So even areas that were serviced and have a natural disaster, which caused them to not have as much service, are going to have issues getting back to those standards. And so we see that because, as you say, we talk about access, and it's true. Everyone can have ChatGPT access. Everyone can have a cloud subscription, but do you have the proper internet to be able to access those tools? Or if I build something in Claude, am I going to have the bandwidth to upload this and then keep iterating and playing around with Claude Code and things I've built? So having access to the tools is only part of the access issue.
Yeah.
We also have to make sure that the broadband access is there at a level that is affordable and sustainable.
Yeah, and I pulled up the stats because I was like just determined to find them, because I think I even didn't realize it, right? Sometimes we live in our bubbles, and we don't realize what others are going through. And I was at the All Things AI event this year. Anjanette Miller, who is the executive director of Echo, which is where I'm actually working from today, which is entrepreneurial community within Durham. She actually presented, and I took a picture of the slide. So in North Carolina, as a case study, there is over 7% of households don't have access to broadband. In rural North Carolina, that number is anywhere between 25 and 40% don't have access to broadband. And the overall average for North Carolina statewide is around 20%. And so when we think about that, when we think about, whether we're thinking about the students and education, whether we're thinking about business owners, professionals, that really places some limitations on who has access to the free versions. I'm even just thinking, right? Like who has access
Yes.
to internet and then who has access to free versions. Not to mention when you start thinking about who can actually afford to pay for, the paid versions. And even as a small business owner myself, that tech stack can really add up. So when we're thinking about equity, there are a lot of different facets, and I'm sure that you've seen a lot of this, Danny.
And that's always the concern. I mean, let's be honest. Tech is great, but tech isn't cheap, right? It's always been that barrier of like, how much is this laptop going to cost me?
Mm-hmm.
How much is this particular printer going to cost me? Right? Like we even see that with 3D printers. How many people have access to 3D printers in their home or even at their schools? There's probably not a lot of them. It's a great technology, but it's a very pricey technology. And so I'm sure there are people who would love to be able to build with a 3D printer who don't have access to one or the materials.
Mm-hmm.
And so we see that with a lot of different facets of technology, not just in the AI space.
Yeah.
But I think the AI space has brought that conversation more to the forefront than anything else because of the pace. Because no one's talking about can everyone have access to a 3D printer, but everyone's asking, can everyone have access to the latest AI models?
Yeah,
Can everyone have access to the latest AI tools?
absolutely. One of the other things that you made me think about when it comes to access. And community, if you're just dropping in, I just want to invite you to let us know that you're here, drop a comment in, let us know that you're listening. If you have questions, you can drop those in the chat. We'll either bring them to the stage or Danny will answer them offline. But one of the other things that you're making me think about this conversation of access is language access, right? Because that becomes something. And we got a lot of questions at the first Latino AI Summit around why wasn't there any Spanish sessions. And I want to let people know that we did think about that. We did think about whether we have a Spanish track or not. And because we were new and just figuring it out, it became all about capacity and what do we have the capacity for. We weren't yet established. We didn't know who were the speakers in Spanish that were available to talk about AI. So it I mean, as everybody knows, we weren't funded grassroots, community powered event. And so we had to make the decision for this particular first summit just to keep the English tracks. I'm really excited because in the summer summit that we're having July 22nd and 23rd, don't forget, early bird ends in 6 days. But what I'm really excited about is that we actually have a Spanish track for this summer summit. And we're being intentional about like it not being an afterthought. And and we're thinking about, how do we, and even today, like I'm here at Echo again, this is a space for entrepreneurs. I was talking to another Latina. We were talking about, how do we provide more training in Spanish for Latina entrepreneurs, for example, because there are a lot of, as we know, there's 6 to 7 times Latinas grow businesses 6 to 7 times faster than any other demographic, or starting businesses faster than any other demographic, and but there are a lot of Latinas that are Spanish speaking only that also need this training, right? And so that's a demographic. Then thinking about manufacturing, right? We know that there's a lot of roles that are going to be automated in the future. And what does it mean for our Spanish speakers that are working in, manufacturing, and their jobs, may end up changing? And how do we prepare our community for that? So, I'll say that we're maybe not as far yet. I mean, we're 6 months into the game as a startup, so give us some grace here. But we are also thinking about our Spanish-speaking community, and so Danny, you're going to be presenting, and I see Cynthia. Cynthia's
Hi,
in
Cynthia.
Cynthia. Cynthia is one of our bilingual facilitators and powerhouses and partners. And so she's also going to be delivering a session in Spanish. Danny, tell us about your topic that you're going to be delivering for our Spanish track.
Yeah, first off, I was really excited. The moment McCall asked me, "Can you do a Spanish track?" Ruby, tell you my yes was like in 2 seconds, right? So it was like absolutely. There was never a thought like, should I? No, it was just like, yes, I will give a Spanish track because I was so honored to be able to speak at the last one and give a great talk called "Surefire Ways to Guarantee Your Chat AI Chat Implementation Will Fail." It's such a fun time. We're going to run it back, but this time in Spanish. And this time, what we're doing, I thought about playing with the title, but essentially, and I'll say it in Spanish, but I'll let folks know. El hecho que puedes hacerlo y te da la gana no significa que debes hacerlo. So here's the thing. There's a lot of times where we make AI for the sake of AI. And I want to make sure that when we're talking to Latino businesses and folks, that we're talking about building with purpose, not just because you can, and how that looks like. Because there's a lot of people that, yes, the tools can build some amazing things, right? And I compare it to this. If I say I need a shed because I need to put away my lawnmower and have you some lawnmower supplies. In the AI world, the equivalent of that is I'm going to build you a warehouse. So instead of building a 5 by 5 foot shed for you to put your lawnmower and little gas cans and oil, I now have a 100 by 100 foot shed. Because AI is like, oh yeah, let's build you a shed. I don't need a shed. I don't need that, right? And so we're looking at the AI equivalent of that. Like we're building, but we don't always need to build to the extent we're building, especially if later on you need to maintain the software that you built using AI and you overbuild. It's like, well, wait a minute, So we're going to be looking at ways to ensure that what you're building is solving your problem. And yes, later on you can grow for expansion, but not overdoing and overkilling it, because these AI tools will let you build the Taj Mahal when you don't need the Taj Mahal, right? But Ruby, I want to go back to a stats because I grabbed the stat here. It says, and this was from the sources Connected Commerce Console, Google's Digitally Driven 2022. So everyone has a reference. So this isn't just some random thing I got off AI. It says Latino business owners are 50% likely to use digital tools like e-commerce, CRM, or automation software than non-Latino white business owners. So I think about work that we're doing through like the Latino AI Summit. I think about what people are doing in general to help our Latino communities. And we're putting our effort in to grow so that we can get that number to be higher of those that are adopting digital tools. Because the conversation I get a lot of times with folks is simply no sé, I don't know, right? And it's funny because a lot of times they're like, well, I don't even know where I would start with AI. And I'm like, do you use WhatsApp? Yeah. Well, Meta's got AI built right in there. So you could have been using AI via your WhatsApp.
I love that you bring up WhatsApp. Like everyone has WhatsApp.
Yes, and Latin America runs on WhatsApp.
And let me just say, by the way, I forgot to mention this, and somebody thinking on my mind. McCall is in the DR today, and so that's why she's not here. But she'll be, she'll return in 2 weeks. But she's in the DR, and it's funny because that's like how we're communicating is through WhatsApp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like literally you have AI you have Meta AI. It's not the best AI, right? But it's AI, and it's in your pocket already in an app you use. I guarantee you at least 50% of your day because you're messaging. Because we like I know certain people, they are going to remain unnamed for their protection, who hate when you have to text because they get mad and go, why can't I send this someone a WhatsApp? It's like, no, this doesn't. People, not everyone's hip to the WhatsApp like the rest of Latin America is, right? But they have AI tools built in there, but they never considered Meta AI and using AI that's in their WhatsApp. and it's right there. And I think about other tools. There's something I tell people all the time, and if you ever go to a Latino grocery store, you're going to see the billboard that's either in front or near the door, and it's got the advertisements for everything. And you are still going to see people with pull tabs, right? I cannot wait till we have the day when the pull tabs are gone and everyone's on QR codes. We still have work to do.
Yeah.
We still have work to do. So the day will come when we're not going to have pull tabs anymore, and people are going to have the QR codes, and then the QR codes will then take them to their WhatsApp because that's what they want, right? Or their website or some other, or Google Forms, something. But like the day when they are so digitally inclined, they're not going to want to go for a pull tab. They're going to say, let me create a QR code and do this. And that's the day I'm envisioning. That's what I am trying to work towards, to get those Latinos who are doing amazing business and everything you need, groceries, your tires, whatever it is, our dollars can go back to those communities, but they don't have the knowledge of how to do these things. So we still have a lot of work to do. We still have work to do. And so I'm more than happy to do it in Spanish, because one things I think about, and I'm going to try to get up to our track, but we talk about languages. A couple of years ago at All Things AI, or All Things Open, they gave a talk from SAS about AI and how they use languages, right, to learn, and the amount of access. So like a lot of these tools aren't always built with languages in mind, but there are people that are making effort. So for example, my youngest daughter is half Peruvian, right? So her mom is Peruvian. Peru speaks Quechua, right, which is what the Incas spoke. My daughter has uncles that still speak Quechua. They know Spanish, but they also speak Quechua. There are AI models that they are using to help people in Quechua, because there are areas of Peru where people speak more Quechua than Spanish.
Yeah.
So they're preparing AI models to help people, whether it be a city institute or a government institute, in Quechua, their language, so that way they can help and service them with AI. So we see the importance of language, even if it's not Spanish language, but still the importance of the native language and having those tools and being built. So like, I know that my daughter's homeland, half of her homeland, because she's Puerto Rican, right? I'm not wearing a Mexico
jersey. There's the flag in the back. You're like the only one that doesn't have the big flag in the back.
I need it's Puerto Rico actually now has an ice hockey team, and I need to finally buy that jersey because I love their Puerto Rican jersey. But I look at it and I go, okay, there's an effort to get the language out there. And I think about in like Guatemala, where like some of those folks, they just call it dialecto. They don't even have a word for it. They just call it literally dialecto, right? But that's what they speak. And I knew people from Guatemala who Spanish was their second language because dialecto was their first. So when we look at AI, we also have to look at, how we're building these tools to handle the languages and to do that. Because some tools, like I like Google AI Studio, because Google AI Studio handles Spanish very well. So I'm able to do things and build things in Spanish well. Claude, funny story, my mom had to create some Bible game for church and she didn't know what to do. I said, let me build you an AI game. So I built her an AI match game. I did it all in English, and then I just told Claude, okay, translate Spanish. And it did it, and it built that app, and I put it on the website, let my mom do what she needed to do. But it did it all in Spanish, the images, everything. So some of these tools are there and doing what they need to in Spanish, but we need to let our people know that it has the power to do that. Because if they don't know that it has the power to do that, they're not going to necessarily try it. Yeah. And this is why having a Spanish track is important in what we do. Or like, like I know like Cynthia, I'll call out Cynthia. I love you, Cynthia. I love you. She does a lot of content in Spanish on LinkedIn. Like having content in Spanish is important. Having people give tracks at events in Spanish is important, because we need to meet the people where they are at.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing, meeting people where they're at. And I have two things I want to say about that. One is with languages, when we're thinking about language access, I mean, I think even about the languages, Spanish, right? Not even some of the other languages spoken within our community, but just even Spanish, and how Puerto Rican Spanish is different than Mexican Spanish, that is different than Dominican Spanish, that is different from other countries. And so there's even nuances, and within language lives context too. And so it gets much more complicated than just Spanish, because again, like there's a spectrum, right? Like one word in Mexican Spanish, even within Mexico, like between Guadalajara, where my mom is side family, and the capital, where my dad's side of the family is, like the same word might have different meanings in both of those places. So it can be so complex. Something that when you brought up the pull tabs, that it also made me think about, right, is like making AI accessible to everyone. And I think that we all have a responsibility in doing that. Just like how you were working with your mom to help her with something, like we can share these tools with family members, with our tios, with our primas, with our sobrinos, right? Or los abuelos. We can show them how to use these tools just in their everyday life. I think part of the discussion when we're doing that is we also have to teach them or explain to them what not to use, when that information, data to put in there, not to put in your financials, don't put in your social security, right? We need to talk about that part as well, so that there's, hey, anything that you're putting up on here, think of it like you're putting it out on the internet, right? And so giving some guardrails for them to know how to use it safely. So that's part of, I think, the responsibility that we all have when we think about how do we bring this to our communities. I think you gave me this idea, Danny, and I like, it's kind of stuck in my head ever since. And it's something that I'd love to see the Latino AI Summit engage in, in the future, is when we think about community and how to, teach others about AI and how to use it, how to leverage it. And not just like how to use it, because I don't want us to be consumers. I want us to start thinking about, how do we influence it? Because there's also real harm that can be done within our communities through things like surveillance. And so we also have to be educated enough about how do we make informed decisions? How can we shape the direction that it's going? But an idea that you gave me was around like connecting, just like even with libraries, right? And I would love, I'm sharing this now, so this is my way of like manifesting this. Like if we had this AI, I don't know, whatever, maybe it's like an AI literacy day or something like that, or maybe it's an AI like give back to your community day, but to like partner with libraries or the community centers and like everybody from the Latino AI Summit community and beyond, like we actually dedicate this day of going out into our communities, like in person, because we can't be everywhere, going in person and teaching a class, right? To maybe people that wouldn't normally be exposed to this type of technology, and just showing them like, hey, you want to preserve your abuelita's recipes, or you want to preserve a part of your language or history. Like I think there's some really unique ways that we can do that. And so that's one of my dreams, is to just be able to say like, I don't know if it's almost like the lovable, these lovable events, right? Women's Day, they had a lovable kind of a build-a-thon, I guess you could say. And I feel like I would love to do that, like Latino AI Summit style. And let's gather in someone's, around the mesa, around, in someone's sala, and let's just like teach people how to use, so that we're not leaving behind anyone.
So I can't go into too many details about this yet because it's a work in progress. I am working with someone to partner with a group here in town to do what we call multi-generational training, where literally in one night we have the parents, guardians, or abuelos in one room. We have high schoolers and middle schoolers. So three separate rooms, and we're doing three separate sessions on AI for each one of those groups. And
Yeah,
then we
that's so
come together.
awesome.
So I can't go into too many details because that's still working. By the way, Nick, if you're watching, I know I need to email you back about this. I haven't forgotten about you. I haven't forgot your email. And same thing with you, Mason. I know I owe you, but we are working and trying to figure this out because one of the things we realize is if we're talking access, we're talking awareness, we're talking AI fluency. If we take a multi-generational approach
Yes.
to this, it's got the buy-in that everyone is saying, okay, this is cool. Because it's not just, oh, that's what the mijos are doing, that's what the little chiquitos are doing. I don't know. Everyone is bought in and everyone is taught at their appropriate level, right? Because if I'm teaching the parents and the guardians, I'm not going to teach it the same way I'm teaching to the middle schoolers and the high schoolers, right? Different curriculum, different way of viewing the world, different way of viewing these tools, different level of comfortableness with technology and those tools. But if we give programs that all have buy-in to this, then we have something powerful here. We can really rock and roll with that because I need to make sure that they understand, this isn't just some fad and, it'll come and go. This isn't just something, this is very transformative. It's very powerful, but it's also very dangerous, right? I mean, we
Mhm.
literally saw the US government cut off Mythos because of security concerns. So, what we're seeing is real. Stuff is getting very real
Yeah, and I
when it
just
comes to AI.
heard Adi also from our community, for those of you know that Adalberto um, just posted something like right before. In fact, I don't even know if I could completely repeat what it was that I just saw on his Instagram talking about Claude is changing some things starting July 8th. Around privacy. Oh, it's because it's going to be using biometrics. That's what it had to do with.
Mm.
A lot is going to be implementing now using biometrics. And so, like, we have to be informed on these different tools. Again, like there's possibility. That's what I'm excited about. Is there's a lot of possibility, but there's also real harm that can be done, and so we can only make educated decisions, but we also have to be able to educate those around us. So important. And if for those of you listening, definitely follow Adi. It's he's on LinkedIn. Adalberto, gosh, I forgot his last name. I will connect you and I will post it in the chat. He's awesome. He teaches a lot on vibe coding, and is really also in this space. I want to ask you, Danny, because you are, like I said, you're the mayor of the area, and I know you're involved in all things AI. It was a huge AI conference here. I think it went from like 1,500 last year to like 4,000 this year or something like that.
Like
Insane.
the Durham Fire Department literally almost shut it down because of
Oh, I didn't
capacity.
realize that.
They
It
came very
was
close of a couple times, and Leonard Williams, the mayor,
there.
literally when he got up on stage said, "This is the reason we need a new convention
I,
center
I
here in
heard him say
Durham."
that, and yes, because it was like I felt like a school of fish. Like we were jam packed in that space, right? And I think that says so much about the community here when it comes to AI. So there's all things AI, which is led by Mark Hinkle. Shout out to Mark Hinkle.
We love you,
There
Mark.
is, yeah, definitely. We love you, Mark, and Todd. And then you're part of you're leading AI Tinkers. You're really involved in the Latino AI Summit. Like, why do you think community is so important when it comes to the AI space?
Iron sharpens iron.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
when you get together with people who also want to learn, people who are doing, it's hard not to get contagious about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the things like AI Tinkers, we're a community of builders. AI, so we're more on the knowledgeable side of people who are building AI applications and doing some serious things with AI. We get in a room together, and there are people who get to talk to other people who are building and go, "Ooh, I'm building something, and what you told me is going to help me with what I'm building." Or literally one time, we had this gentleman named Nam who was sitting in the audience, and my good friend Ron Jalil, hey Ron, shout out to you,
I
was
told
giving a
you, Danny
talk,
knows everybody.
and Ron mentioned a paper, and he cited that work as part of his project. Nam wrote that paper, and he was sitting in our audience. So like, and Ron had no idea that Nam was there in our group, sitting there, as he was referencing Nam's work and Nam's paper. That's the amazing thing about community. You can get connected. Like literally at the last All Things AI, I got to talk to Worley about quantum computing and ask them what they're doing in Mexico, another place in quantum computing in Latin America. I don't know where else you can go and talk to someone like a Worley about quantum, just in the hallway of a, like, I guarantee you at a Cisco Live, you're not gonna be able to talk to Chuck Robbins. I can guarantee you at an NVIDIA event, you're not gonna talk to some VPs of NVIDIA. But like, and this is what makes Raleigh special in a lot of the communities. Raleigh's a special place because you can talk to people directly and have real conversations, and no one's going to be worried that you're going to take my money for my startup. No one's worried you're going to take my ideas. It's like such a welcoming place where you walk the halls at events and you can start real conversations and connect with people and get real ideas and see what people are doing live. Because here's the thing, and Ruby knows, like I am everywhere. I'm at everything, right? And Ruby even asked me at one event, she's like, "But can't you, like, couldn't you have taught all these sessions yourself?"
I said that last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever. Yes.
But here's the thing. Yes, I could have. I'm not trying to, but
toot your horn. Hey everyone, Danny's also looking for a new role, so like hit him up.
Yes. But one of the things that I realize is if I don't go to these events, there's a lot of people I'm not going to get to meet. So if you want to be a part of a community, you want to meet people, you have to go out there and put yourself out there. Because like, yeah, I'll be honest, I am a job seeker. So yeah, it'd be nice to maybe that link up may find me a job. But even if they don't, but by the way, I'm looking for him on LinkedIn. But if you want to find people who are doing and see what they're about, go to the communities. Because one thing I talk about is like, just because I know AI, I can't be at the 35,000 feet level and be like, oh, I know AI, I know what to teach. I need to be in the rooms where other people in the community are talking about what their needs are, what their concerns are, and see how other people are teaching it and see what other people are doing to make myself better. Because if you want to be a better educator in AI and you want to teach AI fluency to other people, be in those rooms where AI is being taught. Be in those rooms where people who don't have as much knowledge in you are, and you're going to learn what people need because you're going to see it firsthand. It's not just, I know AI, so this is what I need to teach. No, it's these are the needs because I'm in a room of people and these are the questions they're asking. I'm in a room full of people. These are the tools they're asking about. Being part of a community allows for that.
Yeah, absolutely. You're making me think of something that my dad always used to tell me, and I don't think I understood it when I was younger, but he was always like, you never want to be the smartest person in the room. And I so agree with him, and I get it now, right? I want to be learning from other people, right? I want to be in rooms where people are smarter than me or have a different expertise or perspective or knowledge. And that's one of the things I love because, the kind of like the insider joke, and I'm going to kind of put us on blast, McCall and I here is like the insider joke is that McCall and I are not techies. like whatsoever. We're not techies. Like we are in this learning journey with those of you who are also beginning and learning and haven't been in the tech field, right? We are the leaders. We're non-technical leaders. What we are good at is we're community builders. We build the infrastructure. We create the psychologically safe space so that people can learn, where people don't have to code switch, where they don't have to shrink, where you don't have to mask, where you can use your real name or use the pronunciation or the accents on it, right? And that's what we're good at. We're good at bringing community together and then finding people like Danny, like Cynthia, like Alberto, like all the other amazing speakers we have to come in and bring their expertise and knowledge of working in this field. So, and I think, one of the things I love about both the Latino AI Summit and all things AI is it is very much a no gatekeeping, no gatekeeping. We're not using like the jargon. It's very accessible. I love going to all things AI because, as someone that's learning, all those people are way smarter than me, but I'm learning and building my fluency as well. And then, within the Latino AI Summit, we are very committed to being a learning first community. That is one of our priorities. So we tell our speakers like, hey, this isn't about making a sales pitch, right? Yes, we want you to get leads and we want people to reach out to you, but if you can show the value, they're going to naturally do that. But we want to focus on being learning first, providing value. And some of the feedback that we got from the last summit is that they loved that it was that the people teaching were accessible, that they were practitioners, they were using it, they weren't so far away, like what you were saying about, Cisco Live or whatever, that you don't have access to those people. No, there were people in some of our sessions, from what I understand, that were facilitating. They actually like gave their phone number or said like, hey, like I'm doing this other free workshop, come to it or whatever. And I think that's and Danny, like I know I've heard, I know you were really big on this. How many virtual cafecitos happen? I wish I had
Yes.
numbers. Like I feel like I'm going to create like a survey or something like that, because there were so many virtual cafecitos going on as a result of La Latino AI Summit, because we got people in the room, right? We got people in the room, we got people connecting to each other, and we wanted them to connect. And I've heard of people co-presenting together. I know some people that started, I know Cynthia's part of La Mesa, like they started the Spanish live stream. I know there's new businesses. I think it was Hilda Soto and Paula San Miguel. They started a business together. Like there's so many collaborations, and that's what happens is like when we get in the room and we find the right people or the right partners, it's like all of a sudden the possibilities expand. And so I've always, even in my own coaching business, have focused more on group coaching than I have in individual coaching. And the reason why is, in my experience, people get breakthroughs and learn more, and have more of a transformational experience in group settings than they do in the individual. Not to say that it can't happen, it certainly can, but it's just a different type of dynamic. And I love that you just said, like, you know what, at the end of the day, iron sharpens iron, right? And I think that's, something that we can take when we think about the Latino AI Summit, is it's the same thing.
And one thing I'll add too, and because of my work at ServiceNow on the partner side, ServiceNow understood that they need to teach C-level executives. That's one of the things I was working on, how to use AI and understand AI, understand why they're writing checks, but without using fancy acronyms, without going down rabbit holes of AI, without going, super acronymy jargons, right? So even what we're doing now, there are Fortune 500 companies that are understanding the impact of that, because they're saying like, oh, we can't do what we used to do. But guess what? Groups like the Latino AI Summit, we're already on board with that. We already know this. Fortune 500 companies, they're catching up to what we're already doing. And we need to be proud of that. We need to be proud that we're realizing how to teach AI and do this And the companies now are starting to implement that. And now they're figuring out like, oh, wait a minute, we need to do this and that. When we're going like, hey, we've been there, done that.
Yeah. It's so funny. You're making me think of, and thank you for all the comments. Keep dropping those comments in the chat. I see we have Maisie on here. We have Monica. It says that Danny really does know everyone. Jennifer Godinez, who's part of our roundtable.
I like your comment, Jennifer. Thank you for that.
Yeah, Shadar. Um, thank you for listening. So if you have, we might not get to any questions immediately because this hour is going by so fast, but drop them in the chat. But one of the things that you're making me think about too, Danny, is I feel like we as Latinos are just naturally good at building community. It's what we do, right? We come from, like, our values is collectivism. We're always thinking about we. And then traditional corporate values is really more about individualism and just you're thinking about yourself a lot of times, right? And I'm not saying that that's bad. I think it's all about context and depending on the situation. And but it's funny because the community part is something that we do so naturally, and I feel like organizations are now trying to, like, and especially, and I've seen this even on LinkedIn. Now there's all this talk about, like, how do we build community, right? And with artificial intelligence, like, community is going to be more important. So I have a question and a statement, because I do want to talk about, remind me, because my ADHD mind will take me in a different direction. Remind me to talk about our the upcoming in-person events with the Latino AI Summit. But Danny, what do you think that organizations, is because you've been in these big organizations, what do you think they're getting either right or wrong when it comes to building community?
What I think they're getting right is they realize they have to have more events and more in-person events. Like ServiceNow had their ServiceNow partner orgs. So they had local events in areas. So they were like, hey, we're going to be in Charlotte this date. Come in person. Come meet other practitioners. We're going to be in DC, or we're going to do this virtual event. Or like they were hitting big in Latin America. So he said, hey, you're in San Jose, Costa Rica, then. Right? So they understood the importance of having that. So that's what they're getting right. What I think they're getting wrong is they still look at it like a big corporate entity.
Yeah.
Right? Like they can't get past that. And there has to be personalization. I will tell you someone who gets it right, and that's Torque.
Yes.
Anyone knows Taylor and Roxy now in the Torque community, like they are very personalized and they know the audience they want, and they're very targeted about it. Because a lot of these companies are not as targeted as they should be. It's just spray and pray, right? And you cannot be with that attitude thinking that you're going to be successful. You have to be very deliberate, and you have to be very personal. And I'll give you an example with AI Tinkerers. We have a lot of people come to the event for the first time. I have messaged a lot of them out of the blue on LinkedIn and said, hey, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Or I sometimes look at their profiles and I'm like, hey, you'd be a great presenter. If you ever, would you like to present at our next one? We still have spaces available, right? Being deliberate, being personal. Corporations don't always understand it, or they don't hire for that. Because sometimes I'm like, man, if you put me in there, I'd make this personal. I'd find ways to do this, right? Because you have that other view from the outside, like, oh, what I could do if I was here.
Yeah.
Right? Because you see the people who are doing it right, like Torque and some other groups.
Torque does a great job at it. And and I'm going to say this, especially for organizations who might be listening. And there's a difference, because there's a difference between building, like, an audience, and there's a difference between building authentic community, right? Which is where I think the Latinidad and our values really come into play. But I also want to tell organizations, and I feel like, why aren't organizations, like, some are getting it, but I feel like there's a lot that still aren't getting it. 78% of all the workforce coming in by 2030 is Latino. We have the largest demographic when it comes to our youth, right? if we are not preparing Latino talent, we are going to fail, like our workforce will fail.
Yep.
Right. And so when we're thinking about, building community and building the next, the workforce, we need to think about where do Latinos fit in, because it's not just that the future of work is changing or how we work is changing right now. When I think about future, it's not even like it's now. It's also who is doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
And we have that, what I call the convergence of those two things happening at the same time. And the organizations that understand that and are listening and trying to understand Latinos, which we're not a monolith. You hear that all the time, right? And we've talked about it even when it comes to language and background and stuff like that, are the ones that are going to succeed. So like invest in us, invest your time, your talent, your resources, invest in the Latino AI Summit. Of course, I'm going to put a plug in there, right? Invest in, because Latino AI Summit, and we're building not just the summit, right? Some of you know that we're building beyond the summit, and we'll have more information coming out about that. But we're that bridge, right? We can be that bridge, and we can be the on-ramp for some of these learning pathways and for the talent that your organization is seeking.
And I would like to say one thing, and I know it may sound controversial, I don't care. There have been times where I've been hired because I've been the Spanish speaker, and I've let them know later on, you hired me, but for the wrong reason. But I'm the right person because, yes, I speak Spanish, but I understand the Latino culture. Because you can try to say we're going to hire because you know the language, but that's not the key. It's understanding the culture. Because so what? You know Spanish. That doesn't mean you understand the Latino culture and how to work within the Latino culture and that structure. Those are two very different things. I may know English. That doesn't mean you can drop me in Australia and say, hey, he's good. Because I may not understand the cultural aspects of Australia or New Zealand or the UK, but I know the language. Not the same. But it's like, and I told them,
that's a good analogy,
and I told them, like, you hired me. Yes, I know Spanish and I can do anything Spanish, but the reason you should have hired me, and I'm glad you hired me, because I am a person, I understand the community. I understand the culture. That is the bigger piece, not the language. Do you understand the culture of the group that you are after? Like, we need to have more businesses and companies looking to understand, do you understand the culture of the people we're trying to reach, not the language, the culture.
That's so good. That's a gem right there. Organizations, Danny's going to send you his invoice right now because he just gave you a major key into what you should be thinking about. All right. So we talked about, I know we're at the end of our time. We're going a little bit over here, but I feel like this is really important. I'm freaking excited, people, because we are going to be doing some in-person events. McCall and I have been working on that. Danny's been a huge instrument in that. We're talking about an in-person event in the Raleigh-Durham area for the end of September, beginning of October. I can't share anything yet because it's not finalized yet. We are looking for space, though. So Lenovo, IBM, Cisco, Pendo,
Red
Hat. Like, who wants to sponsor space for us? That's what we need. We need a space that can hold a couple hundred people and maybe a couple breakout rooms too. That's what we're looking for. But McCall and I have been talking about an in-person kind of like, I don't know if you want to call it like an in-person tour or like meetups, in-person meetups, but because that's what we're hearing is we want community beyond the summits, right? We want in person because there's a different energy, right? Like you get a bunch of Latinos in a room, there's a different energy. I just met a Latina here today. We talked for like 2 hours and hugging by the end of it and exchanging, contact information. Like there's just a different energy, and it's when we're able to connect in person, it's just a whole other vibe. So we want to do in-person events. I want to know from you, where do you want these in-person events? Where's the areas that where you should focus on? What cities should we be in? What kind of events do you want? Do you want it to be just like networking and like informal? Do you want a full day summit? Do you want a half day like in person? What is it that you want? And where should we be building this community? I'm also really excited because we have an in-person event plan for November in New York. So I'm super excited to go out to New York. You know, that's for all you McCall is from New York. So we're going to be in New York in November. We've got a special announcement then. And then, of course, I'm from Chicago. So I'm trying to fit Chicago into the calendar.
So am I, don't forget.
Yeah, and then maybe Denver is also on our list. So we're thinking about just where should we go, what kind of events would be meaningful to the community. So help us build what that looks like. But I'm planting the seed now, because if you want to come out to Raleigh and Durham, think about coming out here in the fall. It's beautiful, and then hopefully we'll see some of you in New York. So we have a lot of in-person events coming up. So wanted to share that with you all. All right.
Can I also add, Ruby, real quick?
Yeah.
Also, if you have technical seminars you have in mind, if there's specific aspects, like you want to know, like, okay, how do I learn Claude, Lovable, Hero? Like, if there's specific technical seminars you're looking for, we now are starting to gather resources to be able to teach these things from these companies direct.
Yes.
So we would love to be able to say, we can teach you this tool from this person at this company.
Yeah.
Like I know I'm not officially on your leadership for the Latino AI Summit, but Lord knows I've had enough hours of conversations with Ruby over the last few months, right? So I know, we've had conversations like, what does that look like? And that's one of the things that we talked about. Like, what does it look like if we have a place to say, hey, for the next 4 hours, we're going to teach you this tool.
Yeah.
So if you have things in mind like that, please also let Ruby know, because we got to send Ruby and McCall everywhere we can. Anywhere they can hop on a plane and head to, by all means, let's send them.
Yeah.
Let's have them meet y'all in person.
And I would love to bring some of our community members with us too, right? Because as I said, we're not always the technical people. So it's like Danny or Cynthia or Jennifer, or whoever in our community. We also want to provide those opportunities to our community, so that if, for example, people are looking for, technical teachers that are Latino that can come into your organization, we can speak your name in the rooms, that maybe you don't have access to. We want to be able to do that, because that's what community, I think, I'm going to wrap this up soon here, but that's one of the things I think people don't always realize what community means. And to me, it's always about, like, not only like, am I looking out for you, but you're looking out for me, right? It's a relationship. It's cyclical. And sometimes, unfortunately, there's those transactional relationships. You know what? Not really about that. I really want it to be, you've heard us say it before. We really believe in the spirit of generosity and reciprocity. And so it's like, we're looking out for you, and hopefully you're looking out for us too. All right, Danny, we're going to go into the rapid fire questions and then wrap it up. So, and before I forget, I just want to mention again that the Latino AI Summit is July 22nd and 23rd. Early bird tickets are available right now. You can get the full 2 days for $99. And in fact, you know what? I'm even going to give you a little bonus today. If you use discount 10, it's discount 10, you'll receive an extra 10% off of that early bird pricing. And July 1st, it's going to go up to $149. So get your tickets now to the Latino AI Summit. And even if you can't make all of the sessions, you're going to get all the recordings for a limited amount of time. So that's, over 20 sessions you'll have access to. And so that's what, I don't even know what that comes down to. $99 over 20 sessions, like, that's cheap, right? You do the math.
That's cheaper than a Udemy course in some cases.
Exactly. So, and you can get your tickets by going to LatinoAISummit.com/summer Latino. Oh, shoot, I'll drop the link in the chat, but that's our webpage, right? Or you can go to tinyurl.com/LAIS summer. LAIS summer is the short version. Okay, so rapid fire questions before we wrap it up.
All
Danny,
right.
what is the one one AI tool that you use almost every day?
Claude.
Okay. What's one AI myth you'd love to retire?
One AI myth I'd like to retire?
Yeah.
Ooh, there's so many tropes, AI tropes. I will say this: it's not going to take over the world. It's not.
Okay. One skill everyone should develop in the AI era.
Security, because security is a skill that's very underrated but much needed. And my hot take on this, and I don't care what people have to say, this is my hot take. We're not talking enough about AI security. And that's what
Agreed.
we need to start taking a lot more serious. I was at an event, big shout out to B-Sides RDU security event. We spent 4 hours, thanks to the Cloud Security Alliance, talking AI security and model poisoning and all these horrible things that you will blow your mind what people are able to do with AI. So we need to learn to be secure.
Yeah, maybe that's a session for the January summit is what it sounds like.
Great one to do. So
and what's a book, podcast, or resource that you'd recommend?
Besides this one that we're on right now?
Yes, of course. Besides this one, this is the first one, of course.
Okay. I'm not going to give a book because the books get too outdated too quickly.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, but I will say great resource. Look up Mark Hinkle and what he is doing with his AI group, because Mark also has a lot of online resources. He does a lot of webinars, and Mark Hinkle, he's obviously very known in the RTP area, but if you are a practitioner, you will learn from Mark. Yeah. If you are learning AI, you will learn from Mark. Mark is able to give you what you need at any level of AI, and he's always current on everything. And he's one of those guys who always has a tool for you.
Yeah, nicest guy ever, too. Nicest guy ever.
And he has a cute dog. Shout out to Mark's dog.
He loves his dog. He loves his dog who has an Instagram, right? Yeah, shout out to Mark. We love all things AI and all things open. And then my final question for you is, what excites you the most about the future of AI?
What excites me the most is that people are finally learning that it's for me.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah. Man, I don't even know what to say. Yes. It's for you. It's for me. It's for all of us. Yeah.
Todos. IA para todos.
Yeah, I really can relate to that. And I think, I will venture to say I can even speak for McCall here in this area is, I don't think either of us ever really felt represented in leadership, much less in AI. But I feel like the barrier has definitely gotten lower. And while I may never be the one coding, not that sometimes you don't even have to these days, but it feels like I can actually be part of the conversation now, right? And
because
community.
All of us who are here listening live or on the live stream later, we all have a place. We all have things we can do with AI. There's a tool that will make your life easier. There is something that you can do to help others with AI. We are not in a silo. Todo mundo tiene que cuidar de todo mundo, y con la IA lo vamos a hacer.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. And, I think I'm just going to close on this because I think that's perfect. When we started the Latino AI Summit, we started by asking the question, what if we didn't have to wait to be invited to the table? what if we built our own table? That's literally the question that sparked the Latino AI Summit. And I just want everyone who's listening, whether you're Latino or not, does not matter to us. We are an inclusive space. Yes, we center the voices of Latinos in AI and emerging tech, but everybody is welcome. And in fact, my favorite quote from the whole entire summit came from an ally that attended. And they said, this isn't the most Latino AI summit I've ever been to. This is the most human AI summit I've ever been to. And that I just love. It came from an ally, and we had some allies that were also, they spoke. We had some allies that were volunteers. One of the volunteers said, like, who's not part of the Latin community, said that she felt so welcome. She actually like was even in tears just about how her heart has felt and how she has felt not welcome in other spaces, but felt so welcomed within our community. And I just think that's like the Latino, like our hospitality and our love and corazon that comes through. And so everybody has a seat at this table, and we're excited to partner with you. So please check out our website. It's the LatinoAISummit.com. And Danny, thank you for being here today. And mi gente, thank you for joining us. Have a good one.
See you at the summit.
See you at the summit.